Hey there, and welcome back to Rival Reviews. Like I talked about last week, this week is going to be basically talking about my first impressions of things that came out this season. So I figured I'd kind of just go one by one, no particular order, just kind of like where I'm caught up and, have best memory of. So first one I want to kind of bring up is Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Um, the interesting part about watching this one is that now that I've caught up with the manga, I kind of already know where this is going. It is kind of cool still to watch it animated, of course, because like I said, I would say if anything, this is probably one of the strongest isekais out there. So as we are kind of at right now, there's not really going to be any kind of like I don't know, like there's not going to be any kind of big bad magical fights in this season, which I think feel like a lot of people are going to be, I guess, a little frustrated about. This one's kind of more like I kind of spoke of last episode. It's going to be more about like the life that he's living and like the life that he's building with Sylphie after getting married and everything else like that. So the marriage has officially taken place. They have a house. So we kind of had like the, I guess, initial opening of those things happening. Not much happened. There was the 10-second duel he had with the other guard just to kind of prove that he could protect Sylphie. Um, and really honest, and then we had like the haunting, not haunting of the house with the doll. So I feel like this season is definitely going to be like introducing a lot of different things. Like for instance, like the doll that they found or whatever, it kind of brings in the whole idea of multiple layering magic circles, which came into effect for the first time in the latest episode, um, where Neniyoshi is trying to make a summoning circle essentially to then reverse engineer it to send herself back home. And she successfully, brought over a plastic water bottle, which plastic does not exist in this world. So clearly, it has succeeded in some form. And yeah, further from that, he just got the letter from Paul that he is sending his little sisters over to him to watch, which I know is going to be a big part probably of this thing. It's because it's kind of like the family dynamics. Because obviously, the last time that he saw his one little sister, they really did not get along in any way, shape, or form. And the last time that he saw them before that, they were both babies. So obviously, they have no memories with him or anything at all before the major teleportation. So yeah, so that's kind of I think going to be the major thing that we're going to be watching is kind of like him trying to create, you know, some semblance of a relationship with his sisters. So like I said, if you're hoping and expecting for some cool magic fights, everything else, you're not really going to get much of that this season. That much I am aware of. But it's still fun, especially if you like the development of a good story and a good family arc. And that's kind of where we're going right now with that one. So next up is as reincarnated aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skill to rise in the world. This one's fun. This one's also one that I have also read. It has been a very long time, so it's actually kind of nice that it's been a long time because I do, at the very least, know that I enjoy the story, but I can't remember like everything in complete detail. Um, Kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of really still in the preliminary stages. Our reincarnated guy is, still a child, and basically, essentially, he's gathering his crew. I will say that what I like about this one is that, like, though it doesn't like throw it in your face, I would say it's very much a good lesson on, it doesn't matter where you come from if you have the talent. That's kind of all that matters. So the first person that he picks up is like I guess if we wanted to use like a real life kind of idea, would be like an immigrant type of thing, and he's looked down on and everything else like that. But our main character, ours, doesn't see it like that. He has the ability, obviously, to appraise people's skills and everything else like that. And he didn't care who he was or where he came from. He saw that he had talent, so he's like, "Yep, I need to make you a retainer." So there's that, and then we just recently, in the latest episode, got so like kind of like so the first retainer, he's kind of more of like a fighter brawler type of dealy. Like basically he's just really good at combat, where this new addition is a magician, and like an S-class mage at that. Had never used magic before ever, but obviously with the use of the appraisal skill, he got to see that S rank, and again, kind of in an I guess you could say unorthodox fashion. She was a slave, kind of migrant of the streets, stealing bread from people, and trying to protect the other young slaves slash orphan kids. But again, that didn't matter because he saw that she was talented, and took her in. And yeah, so I think if I'm not mistaken, I do know at a certain point in time we are going to get a time skip where ours kind of turns more into like a teenager. I have a feeling that that's going to happen pretty soon. I do know that there is a war currently going on, so I'm pretty sure that like we're going to get a little bit of snippets of that. But again, the I guess kind of harsh reality of that is I'm not sure how much we're going to see, because if memory serves in the manga, obviously R still being a child, he's not going to be there, but the retainers will be going in his stead. So I don't know if we're actually going to get any glimpses of that, and if anything, they're probably just going to be like little flashes. But yeah, so all in all, I'm enjoying this one. And I think, like I said, kind of where it's going, like I said, I do know at a certain point in time we do get a time skip. And then it's going to kind of just be more him, gathering talent. And then as they kind of, foreshadowed in the first episode, he becomes the lord of the area. And I'm assuming big changes are going to start happening once we get to that point in the story. And that's kind of all we can infer at this point. Next up, we got God's Games We Play. This one is super interesting to me because it is definitely not one that I was expecting to enjoy as much. It is a little strange, and I'm a little concerned in terms of like pacing and stuff for this one, because so basically the premise of this, if you haven't gotten into it too much, is that there's basically a way that they can kind of virtually put themselves into a game that plays against the gods, and if they get 10 wins, they get a wish granted. But if they lose three, if they once they lose 3 times, they essentially like lose their chance of ever getting their wish granted. So the nice part is that like it's not like I guess there's no realm of like death or anything like that, because it's all based on games, I guess, at least for the time being. And so yeah, so far at least 4 episodes in, so I guess there's been about 2 to 3 different games. And basically our main character, Faye, already had 3 wins under his belt, so now it looks like he has 5. I am interested to see if we do end up getting to the 10th by the end of this, but I don't know. We're already 4 episodes in, and if what I'm assuming is going to be 12 episodes, unless they have some kind of skip, like, oh, now he's reached 7, 8, and now we're on to the 10th, and go on from there. But I don't know. I'm not sure if we have the right type of pacing for that to occur. It's not one that like I'm generally like super excited for every week, but I do enjoy it. It is nice. I don't really have a semblance of an idea as to where it's going to end up because, like I said, it's definitely going to be a 12 episoder. I don't know how far it can go to make it that way. Like I'm not sure if it'll, like I said, I'm not sure if the popularity enough is going to be there to give it a second season if there is going to be a second season. Um, Again, a lot of people were saying that this is kind of a mix between Liar Liar kind of meets No Game No Life, which I guess I can see to a certain extent because the whole No Game No Life, they're basically facing like another world games type of thing. So I can see it to a certain extent, but obviously I wouldn't put it in the realm of it's as big or going to be as big as No Game No Life. But it's okay for what it is. I am interested to see where it goes from here. Another one that I've been watching that I'm not like super like I've read it and like it's fine, but like it's not gonna like turn any heads. Is I've begun my life in another world, or chilling in another world with level 2 super cheat powers. Again, it's just like your run of the mill, like he got transported, he got looked down on because of his stats. He was basically ditched in the wilderness by the king, and then, he did one thing kind of on accident. He used holy magic, which he didn't even think that he had, and took out entire forest and like leveled up like 700 times or something. And now he's completely overpowered and nobody can take him. Um, so it's kind of another one of those nice, like, you just get to enjoy watching him overpower literally everybody that he comes in contact with. Like there's like in the latest episode, like one of the rangers from like the demon army or whatever brings like what is supposed to be like one of the most scary things on earth. Like they brings like the dragon army of the dark ones or whatever, and he takes out all of them in like 10 seconds. um it's like that type of thing. It's a comfort watch, especially like if you are a fan of the isekai genre. um so yeah, so if you're a fan of just watching like the ones with like the main character that's super overpowered and everything else, this definitely will fill the void for you for sure. I do think that there are stronger kind of isekai-ish kind of ones, or reincarnation if you wanna think of it that way, that are probably stronger this season. But this one's still okay, and again, there's kind of the, slice of life esque part of like, him kind of marrying an old commander of the demon army that basically fell in love with the fact that he's completely overpowered. Um, so yeah, there's that aspect to it too. So yeah, I would say more than anything that this is definitely a comfort watch than anything else, but it's still entertaining in its own right. A perfect example of this would be the time I got reincarnated as a slime. Again, I think this is a go-to of isekai, like favorite isekai for a lot of different people. Um, I'll be interested to see where this season kind of goes, because obviously I think a lot of people are noticing that this season is definitely starting out fairly slow. Like I would argue that like the first 2 or 3 episodes were kind of recap for kind of the situation of like where everybody is in the world, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I will say that the one thing that kind of always throws me off in this one particularly is that there is so many characters and so much going on and so much has already happened in the world that it was almost kind of nice to have kind of the like reminder of things that were going on. Um and then of course obviously I think it was important to kind of see it was interesting to see everybody's different point of view and to how they were affected after the Walpurgis happened, and after he has become a demon lord. So I think that that was also important too. As it kind of stands right now, at least from the last episode that currently just aired, looking like basically they're officially going to announce basically the existence of this city to the entire world, because it kind of sounds as if at least the idea is that because people are gonna have to start, I guess, asking for permission now that he's a demon king to actually, or a demon lord, sorry, to actually like live in his territory that he's gonna have to like get, they're gonna have to get permission from him. So because he's gonna be having all these visitors, he's just kind of accepting them and accepting that this might come up as a sort of like population boom for Tempest. So yeah, so kind of right now I think it's going to be more focusing on like the political stuff. Like there is obviously stuff still going on in the background, like we know about like the Holy Nation's kind of plans of like, you know, at least keeping an eye on things and how they're going. And then we kind of had like the clown minions and everything else looking like they definitely have a plan, but we just don't know what the plan is per se. So obviously there will be something probably going on in that realm probably later in the season, but it kind of looks like right now they're going to focus on more of the political kind of, you know, now that he has this role, what this new role kind of brings to the table and what that's going to mean for the city. And yeah, so I'm definitely interested. I think it's going to be like right now we're kind of more in like I said, like a, kind of like a political further world building stage of this anime. So I'll be interested to see where that goes. Next one that I want to talk about is probably one of my favorites for this entire season, which is Windbreaker. This was completely underneath my radar. I didn't think that I was going to be watching this at all. And then I decided to try and watch the first episode. And it's just, it's awesome. It's kind of like, it has a very like Tokyo Revengers feel to it, which is why I think I enjoy it so much, because I really enjoyed Tokyo Revengers as well. Doesn't seem to be like as, I don't know, like as, because like there is definitely like turf wars and everything else involved in Windbreaker, but it's more the idea of instead of like fighting just for the fact of the name of your gang, you're actually fighting for something. Like, for instance, the ones that go to Fear and High or whatever, they go by Boforin, basically defenders of the city. So basically, essentially, like if there are other gangs, like their main purpose is like if other gangs decide to come in and start wreaking havoc on the city, they'll step in to protect the people of the city. Which I don't know, is just kind of a nice spin to it. Like, so instead of just like, you know, gangs just trying to, you know, up their cred or whatever you however you want to put it, it's more like they're actually just trying to make the city a better place. By still being strong enough to fight the battles, but not looking for a fight. Which is interesting because obviously our lead character, his main premise for coming here was because he wanted to, you know, fight the best of the best. So it kind of almost goes against that, but at the same time, he gets to do that while doing something good, which also kind of helps him in the sense because, like, you know, we are going to learn more about his past, but from what we can gather already from the first couple episodes is, you know, all his life he's basically been made fun of because of the way he looks, or, you know, cast aside because of the way he looks and everything else like that, which has kind of made him feel a certain way, and now he's being accepted for who he is, and he's not used to that. So there's kind of like a mixture of like, obviously there's like these kind of gang politics going on, but there's also like inner growth in himself, like accepting who he is because other people are accepting him for who he is. So yeah, I'm super excited to see where this one's gonna go. Kind of like the main conflict already. It kind of looks like in the latest episode, they saved like a middle school kid from being on the turf of like, I guess, boundary that they kind of share with a different gang, which like are hard on even like their own members. So clearly it looks, at least it looks like there's going to be kind of like a turf war against this other gang. So it'll be clearly, I think there's going to be a lot of build up maybe to that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And yeah, I'm just kind of overall excited about this one. And so far, at least, it's definitely in the top for me of which ones I'm looking forward to each week. So the next one I want to talk about is Remonster. Again, this one is really good. I read a little bit of it. I haven't read it to completion, but it is definitely a fun one. I would definitely, if you're a fan of slime, you're definitely going to be a fan of this show because it's very, like, I don't want to say it's the same, but it definitely does, like, the beginning, especially what's happening right now, is very similar. So basically, essentially, our main character gets reincarnated as a weak, creature, or fantasy creature, I guess, that we're used to, which is just like a little goblin. But due to, I guess, a power he had from his previous life, he's able to, like, absorb other people's abilities. And in this regard, it seems to be anything that he eats, he can grab their skills from. So more and more, he obviously did this and is now evolved into an ogre but like it's like a rare kind of derivative of an ogre. And then it also kind of stems like that kind of feeling that you get from slime with the whole like, now he's kind of the head of this village, and it kind of looks like they're, at first, they, I guess, collected some humans. So there's humans now involved, there's kobolds involved, looking like there might be some elves getting involved, and they're kind of creating this, not so much a village, because there's like, it's still a small number of people just kind of in a cave, but the old way of thinking for the goblins was that, like, you just have to fight for survival and you kill whatever is not, yours, and then they pillage and, take the women to kind of, make their species go on, is probably the politically correct way to put it. But he isn't like this, like, he's just like, look, like, nobody's gonna touch you and everything else like that, you're all good. And then they actually, form a relationship with him, but like in a consensual way. Yeah, so this is kind of, it looks like where we're at, we're kind of 4 episodes in now. And it's kind of looking like what's going to happen right now is that he's going to get involved in a war that's going to be happening between the humans and the elves in the forest. So I think that'll be kind of interesting to see what the outcome of that would be, because right now, again, it's very similar to the fact that, like, he's pretty overpowered, especially for who he is. So I'm assuming that he's going to be a deciding factor on whichever side wins, because that's the other thing too. It's not really clear, like, the elves being pompous, they were just basically expecting his help, but he said that really he's only going to get involved if the humans mess with him. So it'll be interesting to see if it kind of goes the slime direction where, like, he meets with the humans and the humans kind of like maybe strike a deal with him, or at least, like, form a diplomatic relationship with them. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, and I'm interested to see where this one goes. Next on the docket, the Irregular Magic High School. I don't really know what to say about this one. Like, so far, it's been pretty tame. Like, the whole, I don't know, there was a little weird situation of her wanting to celebrate his birthday alone, but nothing happened. The siblings are weird, man, but if you overlook that, everything else that's going on with this anime is pretty cool. So, as we know from Season 2, the Scorched Earth experiment happened where they took out the tower and everything else like that. And now what's happening is that the media essentially is trying to basically make it look like that the high school is being used to create a military superpower, and that the high school should be shut down due to this. In the latest episode, we got to see that what they had done is that they created an experiment that would basically create clean thermonuclear energy, which would be good for society versus anything else. So that in itself, they're essentially just kind of playing with the media, because basically clearly somebody had set up a meeting with, I think it's the prime minister, to come up and basically see that that's what they're doing, and to create them, like basically mock them in the media and everything else like that. So him and a whole crap ton of reporters came as they were doing the experiment. Then the experiment succeeded, and it kind of made the prime minister's hands tied, and he basically had to say, yes, like, I'm glad that the students are doing something for the good of society, and of course the journalists that were looking for a dramatic piece to go against the magicians left empty-handed, essentially, because they were doing good. Yeah, so kind of right now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really entirely sure where I see this one going. I do know that at least what we know from the Yatsubas, we know that America is going to start probably making a move, because they might be threatened by the power that the Yatsubas currently hold. So I think that we'll probably get more information as the thing goes on, and then there seems to also be some inner clan issues as well that seem to be happening. There's this one with some kind of inferiority complex or something. I'm not entirely sure. That wants to go against the Sagusas, which is the family of I guess the ex-class president. I guess now because she's graduated. And her father also kind of seems to be in some shady dealings, like actually working with the anti-magic establishment, but for the sake of the magic establishment. I don't know. So there's a lot going on. I think right now we're still very much, because, there's only 3 episodes, so I think we're still very much in the preamble setup. So it's kind of hard to know exactly where this is going, but I do see some good drama coming our way. So hopefully the fanfare is at a minimum, and we actually get some good storytelling. That would be the best for this case. Next up, I was reincarnated as the 7th prince, so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability. First and foremost, probably my most favorite part about this show is just how mentally unstable the main character is. He's basically just like a fanatic for magic, and he was a fanatic in his past life for magic, but he was of common birth, so I guess in this world you need to have noble blood to have strong magic, and so he's reincarnated as a noble in this one. So he came back with the knowledge that he already had as a fanatic, but now he has the power to actually use his theories. So it's kind of funny, because it's also he's trying to hide it, because he doesn't want to be the hero or anything. All he wants to do is literally just study magic. So he's doing things for fun and stuff like that, and it's completely overpowered. He learned how to write enchantments on weapons, for instance, and they're completely overpowered, but he just was like, oh well, it's just a fun experiment, and just left it at that. Again, in terms of actual substance of the show, I wouldn't really say that there's it's very much just, if you like watching an overpowered main character, this is the show for you. As to where it's going, there really is kind of no big bad as of yet. Like he's kind of just trying to learn more and more about magic. So I'm assuming that, you know, he'll just learn more and more ridiculous things as they go on. But it's also like, you know, it's fairly early. It's only like 4 episodes in, so who knows? But it is a fun watch. I would give it a shot if you want something to fill the void. If you're finding that your list is lacking this season, it's a pretty fun one to watch. Next, we got The Banished Former Hero Lives As He Pleases. This one is kind of following kind of a similar arc to a few things that we spoke about last season. But essentially, you know, it's a guy that already has lived a past life as a hero. This time, he kind of just wants to kind of chill out. But in this life, he's given like he has a low level and lack of a God-given gift. But because he has his past life skills and everything else like that, he's actually completely overpowered. It kind of looks like so he basically at the beginning he gets banished from his own duchy, and then it kind of looks like that his father and older brother, or maybe it's his younger brother, it's a brother either way, are actually working with the demons to, I guess, kind of make a deal with giving them more power type of thing, but not knowing that their son that they thought was completely useless is like destroying and interrupting all of their plans. So it's pretty classic in that sense. It's, like I said, it isn't one that I would say that I'm necessarily like excited for. I find that this one's very much a patter for my weekly watches. Just because, like, it's nothing new. Like, it's, you know, he's completely overpowered because he has his past memories. He's screwing over his old family instead of, like, you know, the old party in this kind of niche of anime. So I'm not expecting anything too crazy to come from this. I'll give it a shot. I'm going to keep watching it. But I would say that if there is one that I might drop, it would probably be this one. I would say that a lot of critics agree too. Like, I think it only has like a 3.2 on Crunchyroll, which for something at least of this archetype is pretty low. Like, that's fairly low, because I find that most new things or rated things on Crunchyroll like usually stay in like the 4.8 kind of range. If it's not like a ridiculous favorite. But for it to actually be in like the low 3s, I think does say something. Yeah, so I'll keep giving it a shot. Like I think that it is still too early. But it's also, I would say, probably one of the more predictable storylines from this season. And finally, I want to talk about Oblivion Battery. This one kind of actually started a bit later, so we only actually have a couple episodes out. Like I said, I'm a sucker for a sports story, especially when it comes to baseball, because it's like my favorite sport. I will say it is kind of lagging a little bit, at least in terms of pace for me. But again, it's kind of hard to tell because it's already two episodes in. But if anybody knows anything about baseball, you know, you need your infield, your outfield, a pitcher, and a catcher, right? And right now, just to give you pacing, so like the idea is that because of the whole amnesia story arc of the catcher in the battery, the pitcher follows him because he refuses to have anybody else as his catcher. But the high school that they choose to go to doesn't have an active baseball team. Obviously, there is going to be a baseball team by the end of this. But so far, at least in terms of, I guess, finding characters, we have, you know, obviously the pitcher and the catcher, who are the two main characters that are being followed. And then, again, right now we're in that very stereotypical, no, I came here because there was no baseball, but they're very clearly going to end up joining the team at some point. And then and their positions look to be second and shortstop, and then we have an outfielder. One outfielder. So that means we're still looking for at least a full team, not including any substitutions or coaching or anything like that. We are still looking for 2 more outfielders, a third baseman, and a first baseman. And then, I'm assuming that at some point there's going to be a whole episode in regards to trying to find a technical advisor or something to become their coach or something along those lines. So I'm a little kind of concerned about the pacing on this, because if we're looking at 12 episodes, are we even going to get like a game of baseball, or is this just going to be solely based on them, I'm just a little concerned that the next 4 or 5 episodes, the only thing that's going to be happening is that they're going to be finding, quote, baseball players that only came here to not play baseball anymore, but are going to end up playing baseball anyway. And that's my concern. And I'm kind of more excited for the after of that, like when they finally start playing and trying to mesh together, because at least in my mind, we're all ready for storyline. We have to get the rest of the team, get the coach, find people to play with, have the one game where they struggle to have any semblance of teamwork because they've never played before, and then finally persevere and become a really strong underdog team. And then plus we have all the amnesia with the catcher and everything else to also deal with in the story. So I am a little concerned. I am going to keep watching because, like I said, it's really the only one, at least sport-wise and everything else, that's even playing this season. So it kind of fits an area that I feel has been lacking in past seasons recently. So I will keep at it, and I'm hoping that it maybe turns out better than I think it's going to be. And that's it, guys. I have all caught up. So those are my first impressions of this season thus far. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think that there are any shows that I maybe overlooked that I should talk about and or check out. And so Rival X reviews on all your social medias, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.